What's good, fam? Welcome back to the dERS OnTap show. It's a beautiful foggy day here in the Berg. City's still bustling though. I'm here in Camelot, right where much of the latest album was created, and where most of the OnTap madness goes down.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's get right into it. Today let's talk about technology and its influence on music. Technology is something to be afraid of? Or is technology the key to the progress of music? There always seems to be equally correct yet complete opposite opinions on technology's purpose in music. One of my favorite movie scenes ever is in It Might Get Loud, when U2's The Edge rants about how technology is the key component of his work.
I'm very interested in what hardware can do to an electric guitar sound. I love effects units. They've always pushed music forward.
Then The Edge gets cut off by Jack White saying,
Technology is a big destroyer of emotion and truth. Opportunity doesn't do anything for creativity. Yeah, it makes it easier and you can get home sooner, but it doesn't make you a more creative person.
Let's examine the facts and you guys let me know which school of thought you side with. First, let's take a look at how exactly technology has changed music. Let's start with the invention of the ability to record and play back music. In 1877, Thomas Edison, American inventor, entrepreneur, and man who looks like those brownies might have been laced, invented the phonograph. The device picked up vibrations and etched physical deviations in a rotating cylinder called a record. For the first time, you didn't have to be in the same room with singers and bands to hear them. This was a different era than classical composers became big in. Many of their symphonies were specifically for the king's entertainment. It's not like the king could just listen to epic classical Spotify playlist and or the Everybody Loves Me cycling mix. But these early recordings were low fidelity and low volume and captured only a narrow segment of the audible sound spectrum, so musicians and engineers were forced to adapt to these sonic limitations. Bands of the period often favored louder instruments such as a trumpet, cornet, trombone, and lower register brass instruments like the tuba replaced the string bass. Blocks of wood stood in for bass drums. Performers had to arrange themselves strategically around the horn to balance the sound and play as loudly as possible. They had to mix it live. That's why pre-electric guitarists used to have to pound the guitar to be heard. This period gave rise to the expression, put a sock in it, which commemorates the common practice of placing a sock in the horn of the phonograph to muffle the sound for quieter listening. In the Roaring 20s, systems of microphones were developed which allowed better recording and mixing. The amplifier was also invented, which meant you could really bump your tunes. In 1936, in my opinion, the most influential musical artist to ever record did so in a wooden room with an acoustic guitar and his foot stomping on the floor. Robert Johnson.
I got ramming on my mind.
Robert Johnson was the king of that era. And, you know, if you listen to everything else that came after, everybody took some of his playing.
His music defined the generation of electric blues players after him, like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Eric Clapton, and Jimmy Page. And you could even find his rhythms and patterns in early and modern hip-hop. The guitar and player might have changed, but the soul of Robert Johnson was behind it all.
He was a tortured soul. And there, you know, that's where it got me, you know, because there was an element of that in me that I could identify with.
Electric guitars are fun. There's a tall tale that Jimi Hendrix used to go in bomb shelters in London to experiment with walls of Marshall stacks because that was the only place that he could achieve that desired volume without receiving public complaints. In 1930, the Germans invented magnetic tape, which brought about a radical reshaping of the recording process. Only available outside of Germany in 1945 when World War II finally ended. These records could be far longer and much higher quality than before. You could also now record multiple tracks and edit and combine them, which changed everything. In the 1950s, Les Paul famously pioneered the use of multi-track recording to create large virtual ensembles of voices and sounds. The 30s also brought about electric organs like the Hammonds. Shouts out to Mrs. Small's recording studio. Robert Moog's modular synthesizer was demonstrated at the Monterey Pop Festival and became an instant sensation. I highly recommend I Dream of Wires on Netflix about this unbelievable instrument and its history. Now, each of these changes brought about new things that made the good old days obsolete. I know people who have had an entire collection of vinyl, hundreds of records, only to replace them with tapes, hundreds of tapes, only to replace them with CDs, thousands of CDs, only not even to have a CD drive in your new laptop. Now, the act of purchasing music directly is even dying. Streaming is taking over. Although most streaming services are still struggling to make this new system profitable and efficient, YouTube has already accomplished this with video streaming. The most subscribed YouTuber right now, PewDiePie, with 44 million subscribers, makes over $7 million a year, about a third of LeBron James' salary. He has a net worth of around 42 million. That's 148 Bernie Sanders is. Bernie Sanders' or 625 average American households' net worths. Platforms like SoundCloud and Spotify are adopting YouTube's efficient method of directly paying artists for their content's views. If you bring them the traffic, they have more people to show ads to and more people paying for premium subscriptions to view your content. This new process of making and releasing music cuts out so many of the middlemen that you used to need. Now all you need is some basic recording necessities and creativity to produce a song. Macs even come with GarageBand for free. Then if you could format, barcode, and copyright the material yourself, you don't even have to necessarily pay an aggregator to do so for you in order to get onto iTunes and Spotify. It's truly a revolution. Next, let's take a look at how you could use technology to make your music different. Can you imagine Beethoven with Logic? Bach with Reason?
I'm about to record it. Nice. I'm about to record that one.
Mozart with Pro Tools?
Obviously that changed the dynamic of the process, the speed, the ease of which you could do it all. Some argue that there was a sacrifice, but at the end of the day, those are the same people that will argue that a record sounds better than a CD. So that's subjective for a lot of people.
The more we've integrated technology into our lives, the more it's influenced the music we make. Autotune is a perfect example of this. Nowadays, it's hard to find a track without some type of autotune or pitch correction. Let me reference Frank Ocean's lyrics on his song Novocaine from his mixtape Nostalgia Ultra. On the track, he refers to autotune lyrics as computed emotion. Now, it might seem silly to think of computing something so complex as human emotions, but in reality, this computing of feeling can be seen all around us, not just in our music. Think of emojis. I miss you, Frank. Please come back, Frank. As a decent portion of the world has started using iPhones, we've started simplifying our emotions to small animated faces. Frank, drop your next album. I don't even want to imagine what it's going to be like in 50 or 100 years.
But how convenient would life be if every aspect of our homes was mind-controlled? Gone are the days of having to get out of bed.
In the world of visual arts, artists now use programs like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop on their laptop to produce images, no longer relying on purely physical means of self-expression like pencil, paint, or ink. I bet if an ancient artist saw digital artists working, they would say that the skills lack the pride in physically performing the labor yourself to make it. But it's all about what you value about the art, and that might be the way it gets made. Well, it's debatable whether or not this movement towards technology is good or bad. It's a definite trend among artistic mediums. But change always brings about some weird acclimation periods, some friction. It always takes time for society to let go of the good old days and accept the innovations into their lives. When electricity was first popularized, people feared that it would burn down our homes. And it does! According to the US Fire Administration, there are 28,600 electrical fires per year. These fires cause $1.1 billion in property damage and loss per year, and they are responsible for 300 deaths and 1,100 injuries each year. And we love electricity. Oh shit, wait, I gotta plug my phone in. When the car was first invented, people were terrified. In 1901, Connecticut became the first state to have a speed limit. 12 miles an hour in the city, and a fireball 15 miles an hour. Car accidents caused 3,287 deaths per day. Nearly 1.3 million per year. 50 million are injured or disabled every day from road crashes. And we love cars. Oh, sorry. In reality, there are pros and cons to the change, just like everything else. On the bright side, people now can produce everything on their computers in their bedrooms. Just look at Tyler, the Creator, Lil Dicky, Metro Boomin, Alan Kingdom, Bobby Raps, and Flying Lotus. They all started out sitting in their rooms, staring at screens just like this.
He does, like when he's making music, he doesn't play around, staring at the computer for hours. And in the last 10 to 15 minutes of it, that'll be what the beat really sounds like.
Oh man, this sounds like it's melting.
Artists can do everything themselves. They have complete creative control. They no longer need to worry about recording executives trying to influence their sounds and generate profit from them. On the same note, people can now generate their own fame. Technology has allowed us to make collaborative efforts with people in other countries. We could record a verse in the US and send it to someone who makes beat in, say, Antarctica, Australia, Scranton. Last year, Phil Ainelli, aka Young Toro, sent me the draft of his new song, OOA, from 300 miles away. In a window of 4 hours, I sent back the song with a recorded hook, verse, and guitar track. The rest of the day we spent sending it back and forth and tweaking it until it was finished. A song made 300 miles apart. That wouldn't be as easy just 20 years ago. In fact, I was at the Steeltown Entertainment Summit hosted by Hoover from Animal House yesterday.
Mr. Hoover, president of Delta House, 1.6, 4 C's and an F. A fine example you set.
He noted that with modern technologies, movies and shows don't have to be recorded and edited in the same places anymore. Now, instead of transporting the physical tape reels across country, you could upload the files and send them across the globe. This is a huge cost advantage for the entertainment industry. Certain cities like Pittsburgh, you could film a movie there, and if you spend a certain amount of your budget there, then you get a 30% tax break. Then you could send it to LA where you have all your connections and editing teams. However, technology does have some cons. Sometimes the introduction of new technology can be bad. Because people don't need to be with each other to make music anymore, there might be an artistic synergy lost in the process. Being able to jam live and develop a groove in person is a mental connection that is hard to recreate by sending files back and forth. This is just like how certain qualities of talking to someone who's in front of you in the flesh are hard to recreate over phone call or text. Nothing beats making music with someone in the same room. However, you indeed do have more capabilities with this technology, even if you were in person in the same room. Now, some producers work better by themselves. They can make the project and then bring it to the group and then edit it from there. But other bands who depend on their jam skills, being able to improvise live, technology doesn't help as much. Another con is, it's beginning to make live performances weird. Nothing can take the place of real live performances. It's the true testament to someone's talent. You could feel the energy of the live performer. You could really understand where they are, what their music means coming from them. It could be discouraging to see an artist alone on the stage with just a laptop. And this could be why artists like Kendrick and Wiz sometimes choose to perform with a full band backing them. Kendrick even performed on Ellen with 2 dancers dancing and a painter just painting. And he had a dope sweater. I bet that shit was comfy. I saw Kid Cudi twice. The first time, he was in a spacesuit and Dr. Genius was just sitting side stage with the laptop, basically just pressing play for instrumental versions of the songs I already knew every frequency of. It wasn't new to me. It was a bit anticlimactic in my opinion, but I did just fight for my life in a Tyler Creator mosh pit. Overall, I loved the concert, don't get me wrong. But the next time I saw him, Some artists, when they play live, even resort to playing the entire studio song with their voice still on it. Something about those 100% pre-calculated performances screams smoke and mirrors to me. What truly impressed me is when I opened for the internet and I asked the sound mixer while they were playing about their setup and if they used any samples. He goes, "These guys? Pfft, nah. All live." There's something that you feel in the soul when you watch someone create such professional sound from silence right in front of you with real instruments. Now that's live music. But technology is kind of starting a new generation of creative minds and allowing them to turn their creativity into an actual product right in their bedroom. As Alan Kingdom best puts it, voice memos deep in the iPhone. Talk about ideas, I got plenty. We're just some kids with computers. With some genius ideas. We're just some kids with computers. Mama, look what I created. Mama, look what I created in my room for the world to see. Mama, look what I created in my room for the world to see. This generation has the capabilities that only the biggest acts had access to decades ago, and even more sonic capabilities than they had. An entire recording studio right in your laptop. You could sit quietly in a public coffee shop with headphones and make a blank document, and an hour later have what would take hours or days in a vintage studio. The only problem is when the other visitors are just trying to chill, and you're too excited about what you just made.
Yeah! Look what I have created! I have made fire! I have made fire!
Yeah, might get a little out of hand, but I still do it. Sorry, Dunkin' Donuts. Nah, I'm not sorry. To all the innovators out there experimenting with their sounds and the new technology, stay up. And hit me with anything you want me or the OnTap crew to hear or see. Hit that like button, make sure to subscribe.
Do it!
Just do it.
Do it!
Do it for yourself.
Shouts out to the dERS and Neat Messy, use my bros. Do you wanna even really be free? Stay up with all the madness going down on OnTap in the upcoming weeks. Gains, see you soon. Cheers, fam.
OnTap, you been to get in this?
dERS.
That's some terror for your broke ass.